So hello everybody, welcome back to the Game Haus, and we all know that esports is growing. We love it. There's it seems like the each week several new colleges decide that they're going to start esports programs, offer scholarships. The overall structure on the high school end is coming together, but there's still a lot of people that see this from the outside, and they want to get involved. They don't know how. They want to build something and help people out. Well, I have with me today somebody that I have spoken with before. She is a friend, and she's going to going to show me a solution to this issue of the of supporting the massive popularity that is gaming, doing it the right way, with the right structure and the right people and the right processes. So I have with me one more time a Mikomi. She's the marketing director of American Esports. You can see that you can see their logo on the screen right there. So Mikomi, thank you once again for making time for me. Sort of reintroduce yourself a little bit, and then talk about this new this new position that you have.
Thanks, Bill. Well, my name is MikomiChan, and I think the last time you and I did an interview together, I was the team captain for Pred Start Gaming's
Mm-hmm.
professional Overwatch team. After doing that for about a year and a half, 2 years, I decided to retire from the Overwatch community as a player, and I wanted to go into the management and educational side of esports. Through my time as a professional gamer, I had a great time with my org, so I'd like to think that we were a pretty good org. I noticed in the community there were really big holes in the industry side of things. I noticed that there was a distinct lack of education on how to become involved in esports as a potential career. And I also noticed that there is a very large lack of infrastructure in America, especially compared to a lot of the different Asian countries
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to esports. So I went around trying to find different companies where I could plug in that would be able to like enhance these two aspects of esports within our country. Uh, a few months ago, I joined an international tournament committee, the IEOC, where I help out with the American side of the esport teams for that tournament. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got hired by American Esports, which is an infrastructure and educational company that was recently developed specifically for the esports space. I accepted a position as their director of marketing development, and I am one of their main esport consultants as well. So my job entails wearing many hats. We are still a company. We've only been around for about a year, so we're still in the startup phase. We've completed our first wave of funding, and we have been using that money to open up esports centers in the country. So far, we've opened up one center. We opened that in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, back in June, and we had a fantastic opening.
Good.
We had some politicians there, some professional athletes, uh, influential members in the local community that were really wanting to get behind having an esports center for high school to college age kids. Another thing we focus on is consulting in the educational sector for high school and colleges. There are there's a lot of interest in esports right now. It's becoming mainstream. You're starting to see esport tournaments on ESPN, and Twitch is starting to get a lot of viewers for their tournaments that they stream and everything. And a lot of colleges are seeing this as an opportunity to branch out and potentially bring a different demographic of students in. And so they have been reaching out to us, and we've been advising them on how to go about setting up collegiate esport programs and teams. So that's basically what I've been doing outside of just occasionally smurfing in video games.
Well, what? That never happens, does it?
No, never.
So that last little bit right there about consulting with the colleges, that piece right there is really interesting to me. So when you first make contact with a college, or a college reaches out and they are expressing interest in starting an esports program, they've done some things on their end. They've sort of done some analysis on the cost. They see that it can be really extremely cost effective for them. What's the conversation like there?
So because I am still new with the company, I've only been involved in one or two of those conversations so far.
Okay.
I'm not the person in the company that sets all those up. I just get brought in because out of the three of the esport consultants in the company, the other two were in management and content creation in esports.
Okay.
And I'm the only one who was an actual professional gamer. So we have like three different viewpoints, if that makes sense,
Yep.
on how to set up the different teams and whatnot. So when I get brought in, they already have their budget decided. They already know like what games they want to go and have a collegiate team in. I normally get brought in to provide my input on how to go about selecting players and how to select the actual management team for these colleges. I think, as I mentioned in previous interviews, my job with Pride Stark was a lot more than just being the captain of the Overwatch team. I also picked out the staff that we had. I was heavily involved in picking out coaches and managers.
Mm-hmm.
For us, and I also did a lot of the other management stuff within the org for other teams as well. And so I have a very unique viewpoint in that aspect because most of the time players aren't that heavily involved in the management of their team.
Okay, so when you're brought into a situation, and so the school has decided we have our space, we have some equipment, we have a budget, and they start kind of trying to find competitors, trying to find a coach, trying to find other schools to fit this all together. When you're having those conversations, and people who aren't in esports and aren't gamers start throwing ideas at you, what are some of the interesting conversations that you have?
I think the most interesting thing to me is that, and keep in mind, I also was a college athlete.
Right.
When I was at university. So I see it from both sides of the spectrum as well, like being a professional gamer and being a former collegiate athlete as well. Some colleges don't understand the amount of time that it takes to be collegiate or professional level in esports, because a lot of them still see it as kids playing video games, but they don't see that like these kids have practice. They have to go watch analysis videos. Sometimes if they're playing for long periods of time, they may need to see a sports doctor to like treat any wrist injuries or overexertion in their arms, things like that.
Oh, so you're saying that so the athletes, like for example basketball players, they have to practice, they have to watch, when practice is over, they have to watch the game video from their last game, and then they have to get treatment for their injuries, right?
Yeah, that's one of the things. Another thing is, like I mentioned, the time commitment. So for other colleges that I've worked with. And when I was a college athlete, my coach was a full-time coach.
Right.
Um, and some of these colleges think that they can hire like a head coach for the esport program for just part-time work. And a lot like these kids are gonna have to, and still I can't really call them kids, they're not that much younger than me, but these students, they will be they're gonna have like multiple hours of practice a day. Like it's the same thing for like a football team, like a collegiate football team. You're practicing like 4 to 6 hours a day
Right.
between doing like morning workout and afternoon workout and everything. And you have the same thing that you have to do with like esport. Like, yeah, you're not lifting weights in the weight room for one of those practices or running around a football field, but you're still sitting down, you're scrimmaging, you're um, playing ranked together, you're watching analysis videos, your coach is going through what you're going to be specifically practicing as far as like team composition is concerned and
Right.
character pool
Right.
that day. It takes up a lot of time, and it takes up the same amount, if not more time, than it would take up being a regular college athlete. And
Hold on right there. So basically, an esports team is just like any other sport team. If you're a football player and you're an offensive lineman, you have the main practice with the entire team, but then you also have your group practice where you practice. You have your small group get-togethers where you go over video and you practice your technique, and then you spend time away from the entire team and you're working on when the defense does, has this formation and this and that linebacker is standing, here as opposed to on the other side of the formation, and they're going to run this play. So basically you're trying basically you're explaining to schools that esports is just like every other sport that they have, but what you're working on is that you're actually changing the whole perception of it, right?
yes, it's basically a battle of perception. And I guess battle is an abrasive word for that. A lot of the people who I have talked to, they've been very open to the different mindset that I've been trying to teach people. I think it becomes because I do have personal experience from both sides of the spectrum, and I do find it very similar, being a regular athlete and being an esport athlete as well.
Right. Okay, so these are the conversations that you have. So when you're talking to a college and you're working with them on expectations and perception, is it something that takes multiple conversations over several weeks, or is it something is it actually something is it actually something that they what am I trying to say? Is it actually something they catch on to pretty quick?
I think that the consultants that we talk to, or like the college representatives, I think that they catch on to it fairly quickly because they go into it knowing that they are contacting us because they are ignorant in this area and they're trying to educate themselves.
Okay.
So I think that the people we talk to are extremely open-minded about what we have to say, and that's a really great feeling for me. Like I said, growing up, I've had to deal with a lot of misconceptions about being a gamer,
Right.
and it's really great nowadays seeing people in the education sector approaching me with an open mind, wanting to know my knowledge on an industry that I've been working in for a while now.
Very nice.
I think the thing that makes it time consuming is that so we will have our like hour long meeting, for instance, with the potential like esport representative for from a college, and then we tell them what needs to happen in order for their team to be successful, or we give suggestions on how to go about choosing coaches, staff, uh, pay range, things like that. And they take our suggestions and advice, and then they have to take it to their higher ups. and then their higher ups have to approve it. So it's basically the bureaucracy of how colleges work that makes it time consuming,
Got it. Okay, so
because there are
oh,
just so many levels of people that it has to get approved through, if that makes sense.
yep. Oh, yeah, it does, and that's one of the things about colleges that slows down the process and slows down change is that you have to go up the chain so far, and the further up that the more people that you talk to, the more likely that you're going to hear the word no, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Exactly. Okay, so let's shift and go to the one of the other things that you brought up. So your company opened a facility in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and you said that was the first of you said that was the first of some uh, uh, the first of some more that will be coming. So it seems like to me that there's a lot of people trying to open land centers. Basically, you have these massive stadiums like in Harlington. You have the esports arena in Vegas. You have one in Oakland. You have one in LA. I believe there's also one in Philadelphia. It seems like that these these facilities are opening at a rapid pace. So what is it about the concept that you guys have that you believe is 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 different?
Ours are made entirely for the local communities, honestly. From my understanding, most of the other esports centers that are being opened, like the big arenas, like you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
those are arenas. Those are for orgs to come in and have their players compete in sanctioned tournaments, um, primarily, or to do like large scale events in that are like statewide or sometimes like countrywide or globally.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas our centers are smaller and they're focused on the local community, and our centers are more accessible to gamers. Like you don't need to be a part of an org to come to our centers, if that makes sense. Um, we have them set up so it's kind of like a gaming cafe to an extent. Over, like, for instance, in Asia, there are a lot of local esports centers where uh people and gamers can go to like rent out a gaming PC for a few hours and play online or play rank with good internet, all of the peripherals, things like that, that some people don't have the money to own on their own. And that's kind of how we are doing our centers. Currently, we have a bunch of like PCs set up in them, and we have gaming areas where you can like rent out for like an hour at a time, things like that. In the future, when we get more established, we get more than one center, we want to start being able to pay coaches to come in, or an analyst or professional players from different games to come in and do like special seminars with the local communities to like teach them about like different aspects of their gameplay, and also to educate them on what it takes to be in esports for a job. So where it's the big arenas are more so focused on the entertainment aspect of esports, whereas we're more focused on building up the local gaming community and providing resources for them for like future jobs, if that makes sense.
It does. Okay, good. Yeah, and I've always felt that if anything of value is ever going to last, if it's ever going to really really stick around and make a difference, is that you have to start at the bottom and work your way up. It's easy to spend a ton of money and be flashy and have a nice building and a bunch of nice things inside the building, but people tend to move from one shiny thing to another. And if we really want gaming to be the change agent that we know it can be and make lives better, then what you guys are doing is the way to go. Is that you're starting at the grassroots level, and it might take a little time, but with the way that technology takes over and the speed at which things spread in this country and all across the globe, you can have a grassroots movement that in a decent amount of time it will result in you guys being the go to place for these local events, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Perfect. All right. So you have the location, you have the infrastructure that you're building at the college and the high school level. So in the next, say, 6 to 8 to 12 months now, so what are the overall plans for you guys?
So we have a few plans that we're trying to do in the next, like, I'll say year, of the company. We want to open more centers. Ideally, we would be opening like three to five new centers in that time frame in different cities.
Okay.
Another thing we want to do is we want to set up more of a collegiate esports community. So we're going to be doing more of that. We'd also like to start a sponsorship program with streamers and online content creators and stuff like that, which I'm actually heading up the sponsorship program. So that's something that I've been working on since I signed my contract, basically.
Nice. Very
That's been
nice.
my main thing to work on. So we're working on that, and we want to really pour back into the online content creation community and the online gaming community through our sponsorship and affiliate program. So that's a really big focus, at least from my end of the company. Another thing that we want to start doing is we are going to start doing event booths and do event coverage of different esport events. So we're looking at traveling to some different tournaments and doing interviews with players and
Nice.
just filming different esport events. Something that I've noticed is there's not really that much coverage on esport events other than the matches that get streamed, really.
Right.
And so I think that another good way that we can help change the perception of esports is to provide kind of like event coverage for different events so parents can see, oh, well, this isn't a scary event. Like, I could take my kid to this, then he could watch and meet these new players. Because so far, other than the world level tournament, you don't really see very many non-adult gamers at these events.
Right.
Um, or like people, you don't really see people who aren't there to compete at these events for the
Right.
most part. And so I think by covering some of the different events that are in the country, not like Evo, but some smaller events like
Mm-hmm.
that are still like large, like regionals, I think that we would be able to help change the perception, at least to the parent crowd. And I
Right.
think that would be good. So
Okay.
that's something that we're looking to do.
Nice. Okay. So in that little bit right there, you were talking about creating and developing a college esports community. So have you reached out to the larger governing bodies like a TESPA and NACE?
We have reached out to NACE. I honestly don't know if I am allowed to publicly talk about what
Ah,
we are doing in that regard. I did have to sign NDAs,
that's fair. Okay.
so I'm sorry.
That's perfectly okay. I tend to ask the questions. It's basically, hey, is there any like some top secret things that I'm going to ask about, but then you can't talk about? So so basically, that's one of them, right?
Yeah, basically, I don't want to talk about things that we don't already have listed on our website.
Go figure, huh? Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's totally fair. I get it. You don't want to get in trouble with your superiors. You don't want to give away your ideas and your trade secrets. So no problem. So Mikomi, thank you once again for making time for me. I always look forward to talking with you. The stories that you have with your son are just hilarious, and they make my day on a regular basis. So thanks once again for talking to me as we kind of shut this down. Is there anything that you'd like to promote coming up?
I will be at Super Smash Con the weekend of August 8th, I believe.
Okay.
So next weekend, I will be at Super Smash Con. I'm really excited. I've wanted to go to this convention for about like 5 years now,
Hmm.
and I've always been double booked, and I'm not double booked this year, so I finally get to go.
Very
And it's going to
nice.
be super exciting. I'm really, really excited to see all of the different Smash Bros. Tournaments. I've had a lot of people ask me like what cosplays I'll be wearing
Hmm.
that weekend and everything, and I'm honestly just like, yo, I don't like I'm gonna cosplay for the costume contest, but I'm gonna sit my butt down in the crowd and I'm gonna watch the melee gods go at it. Like
Yes.
that's gonna be the highlight of my weekend, and I'm really excited to watch like world level Smash Bros.
Yep. Yep. I can tell that you are, and right in there a little bit. People probably missed it was the whole thing about the cosplay, and I know that you do cosplay and you have your own Patreon. I will make sure to put that information in the description for you because I enjoy what you do, and you're always positive and uplifting. So I'll make sure to include your cosplay information with the Patreon and the Twitter and all the website stuff in the description. So Mikomi, thank you very much for making time for me for this. I know that you're not feeling well today, so I hope that you get well soon. I hope that you take care of yourself. Like I said, thank you very much. And everybody, thanks for tuning in to what we do here at the Game Haus. If you like what we got going on, if you like this sort of content and the Overwatch stuff and the other great sports content, not just esports, but sports content. I know that some of the guys love their baseball and they love their football. Check out what we got going here on the YouTube channel, on thegamehaus.com. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you soon.